All right, this begins media unit number 1 to the video recorded deposition of Maximo L. Morel Sepulveda in the matter of Bernardo Santana versus Sheriff T.K. Waters in his official capacity as Sheriff of the Consolidated City of Jacksonville, Florida, being heard before the United States District Court, Middle District of Florida, Jacksonville Division, case number 323 CV 00677 MMH PDB. This proceeding is being held via Zoom on Tuesday, June 18, 2024 at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. My name is Lindsay Badwee, and I'm the videographer. The court reporter is Nicole Medlock. May counsel please identify themselves for the record, beginning with taking counsel, then the witness will be sworn.
John Phillips for Bernardo Santana.
Paul Jody on behalf of the individual defendants.
Mary Margaret Giannini on behalf of the City of Jacksonville.
Can you raise your right hand, please, sir? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this cause will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning.
Morning, sir.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. My name is John Phillips. I represent Bernardo Santana. I've got some questions for you this morning. It shouldn't take too long. Have you ever had your deposition taken before?
In reference to this case or in general, sir?
In general.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Have you ever had your deposition taken where you were the party to a lawsuit?
No, sir.
Okay. The same rules apply regardless of your status. You know, we're here to just get to the discovery stage for us to discover facts related to this lawsuit. This is our chance to talk to you, and it's obviously being taken down both by video purposes, and somebody's typing down everything we say. For those reasons, we need to take turns. You know, it's not like a normal conversation where you're going to anticipate my questions and I'm going to anticipate your answers, and we do it at about half the time. So for that reason, just bear with me, try to answer full and complete, try to avoid uh-huhs and uh-uhs and head shakes, because we want the record to be clear. As I said, this should be, you know, a matter of 30 to 60 minutes, not something prolonged. But if you need to take a break, just let me know. It's not a endurance test today. I only ask that if a question is pending, you answer the question before the break. Finally, I assume you understand and speak English.
Yes, sir.
Okay. If for any reason I don't today, if for any reason my English isn't clear, or I'm asking questions that you don't understand, I'm asked that you refrain from answering and let me know that, because if you answer a question, I'm going to assume you understood it. Is that fair?
Sure.
Okay. We're here about some protests that occurred on May 30th, and more particular to this case, May 31st, 2020. Do you recall that?
Yes, sir.
What led to those protests? Do you recall?
No, sir.
Okay. Do you know why protests were occurring in Jacksonville?
In general?
Yes, sir.
It's just, I guess, in reference to what happened with Floyd on the West Coast.
Okay. And were protests, as you're aware, isolated to Jacksonville, or were they occurring all over the country?
I guess this process occurred here in Jacksonville, but I'm sure there are others,
okay,
all over the country.
And what was when did you first get assigned? Before that, in 2020, at this point in 2020, what were your duties and assignments?
I worked in patrol. So I worked in Zone 4 as a patrol officer.
Okay. Where is Zone 4?
Zone 4 is on the west side.
Okay. Does Zone 4 include downtown?
No, sir.
Okay. Had you ever patrolled downtown?
I guess patrolling downtown would have been like phase 1 of FTO. That was the only time.
Had you ever been involved at this point in your career with policing related to protests or rallies? When were you first assigned duties related to the subject demonstrations or protests?
It would have been just that day, sir.
The 31st?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you recall whether you worked on the Saturday, the 30th?
I don't recall.
Okay. And what were your duties and responsibilities on May 31st, 2020 with Jacksonville Sheriff's Office?
So on that day, we were essentially advised to go to the JSO barn in the downtown area. I don't know that address off the top of my head. It's where our canines and horses are housed. And just stand by there in case we were needed for anything else.
Okay. And what did your duties wind up being that day?
We ended up just completing arrest and booking reports.
How'd you do that?
The individuals that were arrested by the officers out on the field were transported over to the barn. We would have met with the individuals, and the arrest and booking report was then completed.
Did you have discretion to release the individuals that were presented to you at the barn?
No, sir.
Why not?
At that point, we were advised by supervisors that they were under arrest.
Okay. Did you conduct any investigations related to their arrest to determine whether there was reasonable suspicion?
No, sir. All the information that was provided to us was provided prior. And that's essentially all I did. I was just obtaining their demographic information.
Very good. And some of these questions, obviously, I know the answer to, but I've got to ask them for the record. Did you do any investigation for the arrests on May 31st, 2020, as to whether there exhibited probable cause for that arrest?
No, sir. All the probable cause information was provided to us.
Okay. What are JSOs? You know what I didn't start with? I usually say state your name for the record.
Sure. Officer Maximo. My first name is Maximo. Morel, Sepulveda.
Give me your last name again. I had problems with it yesterday.
Morel, Sepulveda.
Sepulveda.
No, Sepulveda.
Okay. And you go by officer?
You can call me Max.
Well, for purposes of the deposition, a court might wag a finger at me.
That's fine.
But I appreciate it. But is your rank officer?
Officer, sir.
Okay. How long have you been with Jacksonville Sheriff's Office?
Since August 3rd of 2015.
Okay. And what's been your progression of assignments?
Patrol. I worked as a detective with the risk protection unit. I left that, went back to patrol. I've been in the professional oversight unit. And then after that, I was asked to go to the public information office thereafter.
Okay. When were you assigned to the PIO?
I've been there for a year.
Okay.
Some change now. Yeah, so I have not been there long.
Okay. Do you know how many people you processed on May 31st, 2020?
No, sir.
Do you have any, is it more than 10?
I don't think it was more than 10.
Okay. Do you know what happened to, do you know the ultimate legal disposition of Bernardo Santana's arrest?
No, sir.
Okay. Do you know the disposition of any of the arrests that you facilitated that day?
No, sir.
Okay. Who is Andy Cantor, Cantor?
So Andy was our legal advisor.
What is a legal advisor?
I guess he was assigned to the state attorney's office. From the state attorney's office, he was assigned over to the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. He would be able to provide information, pertaining to legal matters for JSO.
Was Andy Cantor a lawyer?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And he was officially employed by the state attorney's office?
From my understanding, it was by the state attorney's office. I may be wrong. But from my understanding, it was the state attorney's office. Leading
up to the arrest and booking reports, did you have an in-person meeting with Mr. Cantor?
Andy Cantor was on scene there during when everybody was transported over to the barn. He was there on scene. Me personally meeting with him one-on-one, no, sir.
Okay. And how were so ultimately, we know Mr. Santana was arrested across the street from the courthouse. How did he get to you? How was he transported?
Everybody was transported through the jail vans. Mr. Santana specifically, Mr. Phillips, I have no recollection exactly how he got there, but that everyone that was there was transported via the jail vans.
And so that's the physical transportation. How was the information on what they did or didn't do underlying the arrest or supporting the arrest transmitted?
Are you referring to like our narrative of the arrest and booking report?
Correct. So Mr. Santana was transported, from downtown Jacksonville to the specific area of the barn. How was his underlying information, which warranted an arrest, transmitted to you?
So everything that, for example, again, I think I mentioned earlier, the only thing that I obtained was the demographics. I didn't conduct an investigation, didn't do anything in between. The information was provided to us. I think it's in the narrative of the police and booking report. It came via Andy Cantor. And then it was either pulled via an already completed arrest and booking report. And it was just a blanket narrative that was used for everyone that was there.
Copy and paste?
Essentially, yes, sir.
Okay. And you do that. Is there if I'm like in Word or Microsoft Word, I can highlight an area, Control-C, Control-P, copy and paste from narrative to narrative. Do you recall whether you did that for a portion of narrative?
I don't recall if it was Microsoft Word.
Okay.
It is in the arrest and booking report, and essentially all the narratives that from the arrest and booking reports that I completed on that day after obtaining the demographic information for the people that were transported there. I was provided the same information for each one, and I was advised to use that information.
Did you do any investigation to determine whether that information was indeed accurate?
No, sir.
Do you agree with me that your orders under Jacksonville Sheriff's Office require police booking reports to be accurate?
Objective form.
Objective form.
You can answer.
You can answer.
Yeah. For me, it's one of those where it was in good faith. All the information that was provided to me came from, and essentially our legal advisor, and then obviously the officers. So that was all in good faith that I completed that arrest and booking report.
Did you and you didn't do any independent investigation to determine whether it in fact was in good faith, correct?
It was not my case, sir. I was only asked to complete the arrest and booking report by a supervisor that was there present.
But do you agree with me that your listing is arresting officer number 1?
If that's what is in the police report, yes, sir.
We'll go through that. And I know some of the questions that I've asked probably have some of this information in it, but I need to ask specific questions. And if it's just you repeating it, it's totally fine. But, because we're dealing with the book, what did you do to determine that probable cause existed to arrest Bernardo Santana for unlawful assembly?
So again, it was all in good faith. The information that was provided to me, it's dictated in the arrest and booking report, sir.
John, I have a copy of the arrest and booking report if you want me to place it in front of the officer.
Please do. I dropped one off at the court reporter's office this morning, but then I found out y'all weren't there, and I've got one that I can put up on the screen, but that's the main thing I'm going to go over next. Officer, do you need to take a moment to review the report?
I have it here in front of me now, sir.
Okay. On the main page, it says route to group's intelligence. What does that mean?
That is just the unit within the sheriff's office, the intelligence unit.
And what does the intelligence unit do?
I guess a variety of jobs, from my understanding. I mean, I've never been in the unit to say specifically what it is that they do, sir.
Okay. Do you know why the protest cases were assigned to the intelligence unit?
No, sir.
There's under the top where it says adult Santana, Bernardo 3. Do you know why there's a 3 after his name?
Is he third?
And then incident location. Are you aware that the courthouse address is 501 Adams Street West?
Yes, sir.
Do you know whether or not this happened on courthouse grounds?
I do not know, sir.
To the extent it happened across the street from the courthouse, would that carry a different address?
Are you asking me, sir?
Yes.
If it happened across the street, it'd be a different address.
Do you know why the arrest location would therefore be incorrect?
Sir?
Do you know why the arrest location would be incorrect if this incident happened across the street from the courthouse?
That was the information that was provided, sir.
Did you personally interview Mr. Santana?
I don't recall.
Who read him his Miranda rights?
I don't recall.
Okay. Do you recall whether you read each individual their Miranda rights?
Honestly, I don't recall.
Okay. In processing, in acting as the arresting officer, do you know if you were ever in the vicinity, the direct vicinity of Mr. Santana?
I don't recall, sir.
Okay. Who determined that his race was black?
If essentially, I would have put black in there, sir.
Okay. Do you know where you obtained that information?
If I would have obtained the demographics from Mr. Santana, I would have asked Mr. Santana. But I don't even recall speaking to Mr. Santana.
Who came up? Same question. Just bear with me. Who came up with the decision that he's not of Hispanic origin?
It would be the same thing, sir. I don't know.
Do you know whether that was based upon an assumption?
I don't know, sir.
Okay. At the bottom of that page, it says employer in focus media. The fact that where did the fact that his employer was a media company or included the word media come from?
I guess when, if I obtained the information from him, but again, I don't recall speaking to Mr. Santana. It's just one of the questions us as officers we would ask is, your place of employment.
Do you recall whether what he indicated was his correlation with media?
No, sir.
Did the fact that he disclosed that he was with media change his status of arrest?
Again, sir, I don't even recall speaking to Mr. Santana. And again, for me, if I was the one doing the interview during that time, again, in focus media can mean a very, different things. So I don't know.
Moving on to the next page, RTR stands for response to resistance.
Yes, sir.
Do you know why no RTR report was generated in this case?
I don't know, sir.
Who was Officer Jay Benson?
He was one of the officers there on scene.
Prior to this, and I know Jacksonville Sheriff's Office is a very large law enforcement agency. Did you know Officer Benson before this?
Probably by name. I can't say that him and I have a working relationship during that time.
It says the following information was provided by Officer Benson. Do you know how that information was provided?
As I mentioned earlier, sir, it could have been just pulling it from an already completed arrest and booking report or via email, but I don't recall.
And then after that, there's a opening quotation mark and then a closing quotation mark. The opening quotation mark begins before on 5/31/20, and the end quotation mark is after this case is cleared by arrest. Do you know what that signified?
That was the narrative that was provided to me, sir.
Okay, by Mr. Cantor?
Yes, sir.
Did you make any determination that that narrative was indeed correct?
No, sir. This was all in good faith.
Okay. That narrative notes that the suspect, meaning Mr. Santana, attended a protest and that all attendees were advised of a notice requirement. Do you know if Mr. Santana was provided that notice requirement?
I don't know, sir.
Okay. Do you have any evidence that Mr. Santana breached the peace?
Just what's provided within that narrative, sir.
Do you know whether, and it's going to be 6 or 7 of these, so bear with me. Do you know whether Mr. Santana engaged in any disorderly conduct?
Just what's provided in that narrative, sir.
Do you know what, if anything, Mr. Santana did to incite a riot?
No, sir. Just what's provided in the narrative.
Do you know of any other criminal violations Mr. Santana was performing or contributing to at the time of his arrest?
No, sir. It's just what's provided in the narrative.
Do you know what unlawful behavior Mr. Santana was doing at the time of his arrest?
No, sir.
Under at the next page, it says body worn camera. No. Do you know if that's correct?
Body worn camera footage. No. Yes, sir. That is correct.
That is correct?
Yes, sir.
You're aware of no body worn camera of this incident?
For me, speaking with Santana, I don't have any body worn camera, sir.
So you didn't wear it, but other officers may have?
That's correct.
Okay. Have you reviewed any body worn camera of this incident prior to today?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So would you agree with me that there is body worn camera BWC footage for this incident?
There is body worn camera footage for my involvement where I obtained the demographics of individuals. Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you know if there's body worn camera footage of you interviewing Mr. Santana?
I was unable to locate any, sir, and the document itself says no.
Okay. Okay. You agree with me that in the last little narrative section, injuries from accident is left blank?
The triage question, yes, sir, there's nothing there.
Okay. Do you know if Mr. Santana disclosed injuries or asked for medical treatment?
Sir, I don't recall speaking to Mr. Santana.
Fair enough. Do you agree that during a protest, it's JSO's role to protect the rights of the public and protesters by enforcing the law and maintaining order?
Yes, sir.
Do you agree that a protest is not in and of itself a violation of the law?
No, sir.
You don't agree?
I don't agree that it's not a violation of the law. Yes, an individual has the right to protest.
And it's worded a little differently here, so don't get mad at me. But do you have it? And I know the answer. But do you have any evidence that Mr. Santana used any force, threat, intimidation, or violence prior to arrest?
No, sir. I had no contact, to my knowledge, with Santana. I don't recall any.
Was there a watch commander for the May 31st, 2020 arrest at the courthouse?
There would have been. Yes, sir.
Do you know who that was?
Yes, sir.
Going back, approving Supervisor Terrell, Terrell.
Sir.
Do you know what he did in this incident or this?
No, I don't, sir. That was just who approved our report.
Do you know what he did to approve it?
He received the report. He would have reviewed it, essentially, and just approved it.
Sorry, do you know if he did any investigation into the material facts?
No, sir.
Do you know why Mr. Santana was not issued a notice to appear?
Why? No, sir. I don't know.
Did you have discretion to issue notices of appearance?
Not to my understanding, sir.
Why not?
We were advised that everyone that was there was physically arrested, and that was it.
And who advised that?
It would have been the supervisors that instructed us to complete these reports.
That's within JSO.
Yes, sir.
Do you agree that as the arresting officer, it was your requirement to ensure the arrest and booking report was thorough, accurate, and written from a neutral perspective?
Generally speaking, yes, sir.
Do you agree that as the arresting officer, you were required to indicate the elements of each criminal offense for which Mr. Santana was being charged?
Yes, sir.
And you didn't do any investigation to determine whether Mr. Santana's actions met the elements for unlawful assembly?
Sure. The information that I was provided with is just what's within the narrative.
Do you know what officers specifically were involved in the arrest of Mr. Santana?
Yes, sir.
Do you know why that's not listed in the report?
It would have the information I was provided with, sir.
Do you know how Mr. Cantor supplied this blanket narrative for you guys to use in these arrests?
I know Mr. Cantor was there on site. I believe he wrote it up, and then it was just disseminated to the officers And as I mentioned earlier, it may have been just copy and paste out of the program. So that's all I have, sir.
Do you know what proportion of the people that you arrested that day were non-white?
No, sir.
Thank you, sir. That's all I have. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, sir.
Don't have any questions? We'll read.
All right, guys. I'll see you all in a little bit.
All right. This concludes today's video proceeding of Officer Maximo L.A. Morel Sepulveda. We are off the record at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Tuesday, June 18th, 2024.